So last night we had the first night of the DNC, or at least what passes for the DNC or for indeed any event in 2020. It was generally pre-recorded speeches, a few live ones, some commercials and music videos and things like that. I've got a few highlights that I want to talk about, but Yasmin, I'm curious, overall, did it meet your expectations? Did it exceed or fall below you?
No, if I really had expectations going in, I didn't put a whole lot of thought into what was gonna be happening, but I think I just didn't care either. And that being said, it probably meant whatever I was expecting to see. There was a lot of just platitudes and a lot of Joe's a good guy, which is cool. It felt more like a campaign rally for Joe, which is fine. I'm sure we're gonna talk about Bernie later and Michelle Obama, but everyone else was pretty forgettable, I would have said.
Yeah, did you have high hopes for Kasich's speech?
Why is he there? I like the Democrats keep propping up Kasich like he's this hero of the right who saw the light and came over to the left, but he's not that. And the reality is it's more dangerous, I think, that the Democrats are pandering to this former or current Republican. I don't even know what he is anymore. And I didn't like what he had to say. I didn't like his insinuation that Joe is not gonna become more progressive once he gets into office. I didn't like it, just felt very presumptuous and almost entitled. I think you were talking about it in your wrap up. It's not a good sign going forward, and he doesn't have that level of Republican support that he can start pandering to that demographic at this point.
Yeah, or that, he might, but he shouldn't. Like so that you can get a percentage point of the vote.
Yeah.
What's the point of that? And it felt almost like a threat, kind of. I know that that's sort of what Cenk said last night, but it's like, no, he's not gonna turn hard left. He better not, or else he'll lose the bit of the Republican Party that supports Kasich.
It felt weird, and he was like out in a field or something. I don't even know where he was. It looked like he was on.
Put up that picture.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the picture was on Twitter, and I think it was Brett Ehrlich. He posted it, on Instagram. It was weird. Bizarre. Yeah, and why did he stand right there, like at the apex of wherever he stand? I don't know. It's very bizarre.
It reminds me of like the scene near the end of Castaway where Tom Hanks is like standing in the middle of nowhere, wondering which way his life is gonna go. But that was a meaningful moment because we had been there with Tom Hanks through his struggle and coming to grips with things. Kasich's struggle has been to take away women's ability to exercise, the freedom and choice over their own bodies, to destroy unions and provide tax cuts to the wealthy. Basically, everything that Donald Trump wants to do, but he doesn't like Trump while he wants to do it. I don't know.
I don't think Kasich has ever really segued away from his Republican roots, at least not as much as he likes to pretend he has, especially now that he's a guest at the DNC. So he doesn't like Trump, and that's about it. It's like what you said, that's where it ends for that. It's not like he's for Democratic policies necessarily or progressive policies, that not at all,
Yeah, it's just, oh God, so frustrating. There were some parts that I thought were pretty effective. So there was, let's see, we had Kristin Urquiza. She is one of the many Americans that has tragically lost a family member due to the pandemic. She lost her father. And I would love to play some of the video for you, but unfortunately we can't. So she said that her father trusted Trump, as so many have, including perhaps Herman Cain, most notably. And she said that her father had a pre-existing condition, and it was trusting the wrong person, and he died after a struggle with coronavirus. I think it's gonna be an interesting question to see how much they really focus on the pandemic. I imagine they're going to quite a bit, but this was I think a pretty effective first volley, if that is gonna be a focus for the DNC.
Yeah, I thought that of a lot of the speakers that were there, the real people speakers, that one did stand out to me as well. I think there is a video for it, but
we're just having some issue. Oh, we do? We do? Okay, you noticed that I didn't. Okay, let's do it. Let's go to the video.
I'm Kristin Urquiza. I'm one of the many who has lost a loved one to COVID. My dad, Mark Anthony Urquiza, should be here today, but he isn't. He had faith in Donald Trump. He voted for him, listened to him, believed him and his mouthpieces when they said that coronavirus was under control and going to disappear, that it was okay to end social distancing rules before it was safe, and that if you had no underlying health conditions, you'd probably be fine. So in late May, after the stay-at-home order was lifted in Arizona, my dad went to a karaoke bar with his friends. A few weeks later, he was put on a ventilator. And after 5 agonizing days, he died alone in the ICU with a nurse holding his hand. My dad was a healthy 65-year-old. His only pre-existing condition was trusting Donald Trump, and for that, he paid with his life.
And it is very sad. I mean, if you know someone who has died, like I had a close family member that passed away in a similar sort of situation. I think that's going to be quite effective. The question will be how many people are watching any of this, because this is like, I was at the last 2 conventions. Those were big, like impressive things. These just feel so shrunken down and shriveled by comparison for a number of different reasons. Yeah, so we'll see how many people actually tune in.
Yeah, I mean, I had it on and I was watching, but even then it was really hard for me to stay focused and engage for a lot of it. And I mean, I do this all the time, and the production value was good. I'll say that. It seemed like they worked really hard on what they did. But besides that, wasn't super impressed. Or it just feel necessary. And I think I saw somewhere on Twitter that they were talking about, is a convention like this even necessary at this point anymore? And I was like, I don't think so. Like we're all on Twitter. I think back in like maybe the 90s, it had more of an appeal and more of a purpose, but now everybody's on Twitter. Everybody gets the news all the time anyway. And the people who are engaged in that sphere, they're also the same ones who are watching the DNC. So I would imagine.
Yeah. I mean, look, if we didn't have the pandemic, if you could have a big actual convention with big speeches and stuff like that, I think that there is some value to that. The question will be, how much do we get that approaches that? I thought Bernie Sanders' speech, which I'm gonna read a little bit from, was good. Michelle Obama, while not focused on the substance like Bernie was effective in terms of, I think, communicating, and I think it was very well received. But like, we don't need three more nights of Amy Klobuchar's mom jokes and Kasich standing in a field. Eva Longoria was good. Like I could go for more of that.
Yeah, she was fine. I think Michelle was. Yeah, she's very effective, I think. I mean, I like her. I know she's not as progressive as we would like her to be, or maybe she is, I don't know. But I think that a lot of what she said went beyond a lot of the platitudes and the nonsense that we had been hearing the whole rest of the night for an hour and a half prior to that, And I think what she said needed to be said, and people wanted her to say it. They wanted to hear, and it's really hard to argue that anything she said was bad. Who's gonna say that being morally just and being a good person and not voting for Trump, that those are bad things, But at the same time, people need to hear it, and they want to hear it, and they want to be reassured that there's somebody out there who has hope in the whole process.
Yeah.
And then I like that she closed it with that. I thought she did a good job of closing it that way. And I like that she also came after Bernie.
Yeah, that's true. And she had an actual like legit speech. Yeah. Bernie had a chunk of a speech. Everyone else had a campaign ad, and that was it. And the one funny thing, and I'll have more to say about Michelle in just a moment, but the one interesting thing was I've been stewing in rage over the decision to give AOC just 60 seconds for the last week.
Yeah.
And now, like after watching the first half of the first night, I was like, oh, okay, 60 seconds is about what everyone's getting if they're lucky. Maybe this isn't so bad, actually.
I had the same feeling. I was watching it and I was like, oh, all these people, they're just like boom, boom, boom. Because when you hear 60 seconds, what can possibly be said in 60 seconds? Nothing, Yeah. But now I get it. It makes sense now.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.